the CineSnob Podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 335 of the CineSnob Podcast. My name is Cody Villafana, and I am joined by Jocelyn Durand for another two-person crew here today, and another late episode. Sorry. It happens. When they don't let us see these movies early, we have to find our way to them on our own time.
Well, I'm glad that you're not blaming me. Thank you.
Yeah, no, of course. Yeah, my pleasure. It used to be where when screenings were done here regularly, Kiko was very strict that I needed my my reviews in by Thursday at 7 p.m. or whatever.
Wow.
So
the Thursday before?
Yeah, so that they could be posted for Friday. And then that became like literally impossible now because they don't screen anything here. And so didn't get to see Weapons early. So we just have to wait because that's the only way to do it. So
you know what, though? I wonder if they limited screenings of Weapons specifically because it is one of those, like, you shouldn't know going into it.
No.
No?
That wasn't the case.
I'm being generous.
It screened everywhere else.
Okay, never mind. Like Atlanta? Did it screen in Atlanta?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I think there was like an influencer screening here, but I'm not influential enough, so wasn't invited to that. So anyway, not bitter. It's fine. So we're coming at this at a few days after the release of the movie, but either way, we're ready to go. So I'm gonna get it started.
Sounds good.
Here are this week's reviews.
So first up this week, we have Weapons. Weapons is the new horror movie. I guess we could call it horror. That is written and directed by Zach Kreger, who it is his much anticipated follow-up to his first film, Barbarian, a movie. Actually, I take that back. That was not technically speaking, his first movie.
Right, that was like his first horror.
Well, he had co-directed movies with Trevor Moore, his partner on Whitest Kids You Know. And so Barbarian was his debut, like, solo feature. And so the movie has been kind of noted for its kind of like marketing campaign, which was done really well. That had kind of like an air of mystery about it, where the entire sort of like plot is on the poster, where they have this idea that at 2:17 a.m. every child from one single classroom got up, walked out of bed, and disappeared. And that is kind of like the basis for the mystery of the movie. So it was really effective marketing, and that is kind of the setup of the movie. And the movie unfolds in multiple different chapters. And it's not necessarily like you're getting a different point of view from each of these characters. It's more about like contextualizing the characters that you see kind of like sprinkled throughout the beginning of the movie, and then you get a deeper look at each of them and kind of like what their story is and what things were leading into the disappearance and during and after and stuff like that. So it's split up into these chapters that follow a bunch of these different characters, and then kind of like ends with a final like extended chapter where things get a little bit different. The movie stars Julia Garner as the teacher of said classroom, Josh Brolin as like one of the father of one of the missing children. You've got Alden Ehrenreich, who plays a police officer. You have Austin Abrams, who plays kind of like a whacked out druggy kind of guy, and a variety of different other components of the story. It's a little bit interesting to talk about, I think, because I feel like, number one, I don't want to like spoil too much about what goes on, because as you might expect from a movie like this, it probably is best to go in cold, much like Kreger's first film, Barbarian. And my feelings about Barbarian are kind of mixed, where I thought that movie was fine. I don't know that I got the entire hype behind it. However, it does this thing in the movie that is pretty cool, where the movie just takes a gigantic turn in the middle of it. Everything that basically happens starting with like the Justin Long stuff.
This was like the Airbnb one, right?
Yeah. And then like if you remember that movie, like the movie just like cuts to Justin Long, who we have not seen yet in the movie, like driving down a street, and then the movie just like goes crazy from that point forward. And I kind of got this similar feelings from this movie where the movie starts off by like really diving into the disappearance element of all of this. Mm-hmm. You know, Julia Garner's character is like being ostracized in the town because it's all from her classroom, and they're wondering like what happened, what did she say to the kids, what had that. You have Josh Brolin, who is kind of like the angry kind of like bereaved father who's kind of like trying to solve the mysteries of everything. You get a little bit of comic relief with the Austin Abrams stuff where he's kind of like, well, him and Alden Ehrenreich kind of like going back and forth and like a cop chasing down a drug addict. And then the movie hits its final act where you get like all of your information, right? Which is like, here is what's actually happening.
You think that's
right?
final? Because it happens exactly halfway.
Yeah, well, it is the last chapter, I think, of the movie.
It definitely takes a turn, like right at the hour mark.
Yeah, and you spend a lot of time there. And I think my biggest thing with the movie is that I don't know, like it's hard to reconcile the two halves of the movies because I feel like the second half or the final chapter, whatever you want to call it, goes in such a distinctly different direction that it's almost like the characters that you see in the entire first half of the movie don't really factor into much of anything in that final chapter. It feels so disconnected to me narratively than everything that happened before it, where it's like this kind of like eerie disappearance thing, almost like it kind of like at times reminded me of like Prisoners, if you've seen that, but like a little bit more of a comic or maybe like horror based tone. And then it just goes like to Crazy Town in that last piece and gets like super weird. It gets kind of like surrealistic and like it gets more like intense in terms of like violence and stuff like that, and just like really ramps it up. So for me, I like both halves of the movie separately. I don't know how cohesive it all feels at the end of the day. Despite like being effective visually, there's some great like point of view stuff that happens towards the end. It's like a very viscerally shot scene that I think is really nicely done. And then I think the other thing about it that is like a little bit complex is like the discourse surrounding the movie right now and a lot of the chatter is like, is this movie about anything? Like, is this movie have like thematic elements that is like saying anything, or is this sort of like just a face value kind of like weird horror story? And I definitely think it is about something. I don't know how discernible or effective any of it is. Like if I'm watching this movie, I'm not sure that I'm able to easily extract whatever sort of like commentary or metaphor is going on here.
Right, because I know the filmmaker made it about grief and the loss of his filmmaker partner, which I wouldn't have known by watching the movie. But I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I'm just saying you have to kind of know that separately going in, that that's what this is sort of him dealing with.
But also like he did an interview where he talks about how the final chapter of it is autobiographical and it's about alcoholism and it's about his.
That's so weird because I got that from it.
Yeah, I did not.
That's so bizarre. I didn't even hear that, but I was thinking alcoholism. But also, I know what happened to his, friend who passed away. So
yeah,
that's maybe also what I was picking up on. But
so like, and again, I've seen commentary reads that some of it is like a commentary on like school shootings. I don't know that I get that. I've seen some of it is about like generational differences. I don't know that I got that. And maybe I'm the problem here and I don't like understand these things, but for me, it just never really felt like any of that stuff was connecting. Now, does it work as a horror weird movie on face value? Yeah, I think it does. And I think that there is enough there from the face value that works. But again, like it just feels so disconnected. Like so much of it is about the mystery of it all. And then when it starts to reveal its cards, you don't really learn anything, right? It just becomes about kind of like a more mysterious thing where you're getting like breadcrumbs of answers of stuff. And then, you know, the sort of like pain and grief elements of like losing a child or having missing children, again, like sort of goes out the window with that last chapter. So I don't know. I just felt like it was a little bit too disconnected all the way through, especially with the movie where the first half of the movie is so interconnected, where, you know, you see a character in one chapter and then later on there's a chapter about specifically that character.
It's like Pulp Fiction. It's showing sort of the same thing from like, you know, multiple different viewpoints.
Yeah, but like I said, it's not even
Yeah.
it's not even like one incident surrounding multiple viewpoints or anything like that. You're getting like little snippets of these characters' lives and what they're going through. And then for that last chapter to be so disconnected from it all and be kind of its own like short film almost, I don't know that it is ever a cohesive thing. Though I do think that it's effective, fun, funny, interesting. I just don't know as a complete piece if it entirely works. So I'll pass to you.
Yeah, surprisingly funny. I thought that was really bizarre. There's sort of one scene where Julia Garner's in a car, and, you know, there's sort of a little element. It's scary, and then you sort of like relax a little, and then there's another scary moment, and everyone in the theater kind of gasped and started laughing afterwards. And that's when I really relaxed into the movie, where I was like, oh, good. Okay, this is great. Like, I'm happy that this is what this movie is, because, you know, I was really kind of concerned going in thinking of like the missing kids and everything. I was gearing up for it to be kind of horrific. What I liked about it is it all feels incredibly real, especially the first half. All of, you know, the character building, going into each of them. I think Julie Garner's character is so fascinating and really kind of an interesting person. As you said, she's the teacher. And they really, I think, did a great job of like building up her character to be really complex and really interesting, like I said. I will say I do believe that there were some missteps. I think Brolin's casting, he's a great actor, but I feel like he's a little too old to be playing one of the parents. I don't know. That just sort of seemed off to me. I mean, of course, older, you know, men do have younger kids. It just felt like
sounds
almost
a little ageist, but okay.
I don't know. It just made me feel like, you know, he was just like the best actor that they can get. And again, he's an incredibly talented actor, but was he right for this role? I think I would have loved to see Justin Long in that role. He plays another parent. You know, as a little cameo, which is kind of funny, but, yeah, that sort of threw me off. And also, yes, I agree with you that the second half does sort of seem disconnected from the first half of the movie. And I would have liked, I think, maybe just a little more explanation about, and I think you hit the nail on the head, because I don't necessarily need explanation about what's happening, but I think you're right. More explanation about what he is commenting on. I don't think it's about school shootings, although I have seen, you know, people mention that it's because like one entire class is missing immediately and the next day everyone's there. And that's like a very, you know, sort of bizarre thing as a parent to go through. I don't think that that's necessarily, you know, the main point that they're trying to make. I could pick up on the alcoholism aspects of it, except that there's also just so much literal things that are happening that it's hard to draw that line. It's very specific about what's happening, so you can't really apply it to a different, you know, ailment as like alcoholism, you know? Also, I would say it's really not a horror movie. That's why it's funny when you said horror movie, because I was thinking the same thing, and I even heard people leaving the theater being like, that's not really, it was more of a thriller. And I'm actually glad for that. I did not want to see this horrific movie about, you know, children having this horrible ending. So I loved that it was a thriller. I thought there was some really great performances, including the child actor who plays the little boy. He really carries the second half of the movie. And without him, I think it would have been not as good. And then, like you mentioned, some just good filmmaking, like the chase scenes, the car chase scene, I was really enjoying. And then the foot chase scene at the end really kind of sold me. And I'm willing to let go the fact that you're right. The two really feel like a little like two different movies. But once sort of the shit hits the fan a little bit, then I was just kind of like on for the ride. I was like, I don't care. I mean, I was happy with where it was going, and it's very entertaining once it kind of switches. So that doesn't bother me as much, but I agree it doesn't really make sense.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Final thoughts and grades here. So yeah, I mean, I think the movie is definitely fun. It's darkly funny. It's effectively unsettling. And works in a lot of different ways. But I feel the final act of the movie feels a little too disconnected from everything else to fully land. I think that Kreger continues to be like an interesting like talent to watch. I don't know that he's like yet made his like masterpiece movie here. But I think that it's good enough on its own to recommend, though, again, for me, I feel like, again, as we mentioned before, I'm not sure that the themes really, pop. You could make an argument for a bunch of different things. And yes, the beauty of some of these things is that it's open to interpretation. But, there's also something to be said for, like feeling like that, like there is some intention behind it. And it's not just like, someone saying, well, make up your mind about it, because it's like completely unclear. And I don't know like where exactly it lands on that spectrum. So I'm going to give it a B-, a minor recommendation, but a recommendation nonetheless.
So I feel like this was, one of the few movies with a capital M I've seen this year. Like great performances, really interesting script, a lot of fun. And, I enjoyed the crap out of it. And I'm going to give it a little higher. I'm doing an A- just because I really feel like this was one of the few movies I've seen this year where I've really just been surprised and impressed, I think is the word that I'm going to use with this. I'm excited to see more of his. I'm going to go back and see Barbarian. And like you said, this isn't, his sort of, big hit. He'll have one, though, I think, because I'm definitely gonna remember this director's name and definitely check out what he does in the future, because I think he's really close to having a great one come up. So
yeah, and it did pretty well in the box office, and won the weekend, and I know that I believe he said that he has a sequel idea that he might do somewhere down the line.
So, a sequel to this, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Maybe taking one of the characters from the final act and like kind of expanding upon it. Maybe, I don't know.
Do you know more? Are you trying to
be
vague?
Okay. That's a guess.
Okay.
Yeah, and then so then we'll go ahead and move on to our last film of the episode, which is Sketch. Sketch is a movie written and directed by Seth Worley. It is a kind of like fantasy action family kind of movie. Interestingly, it is a movie that is released by Angel Studios. And one of the things about
what is that? I didn't Google it, but I knew it was a thing.
Well, it's basically like a movie. It's like they did Sound of Freedom, right? So like. It is a faith-based
interesting
distributor. Now, the interesting thing about this movie, and I don't know if this is entirely true because I don't exactly follow Angel Studios that well, but I was reading that this is like their first non-faith-based movie. Okay. So when you watch this movie and you see Angel Films and you are turned off by the idea that they made or like distributed Sound of Freedom and stuff like that. Fear not, there are no religious over or undertones in this movie. It is just a straight up, family film that this film launched at TIFF last year, and they picked it up to distribute it. So the movie is about a family, father played by Tony Hale, and his kids played by Bianca Bell and Q Lawrence. And they're going through the loss where his wife, their mother, has passed away. And the daughter, Amber, is basically in, you know, her grief, creating some really like dark and vivid, violent drawings that are creating like concern from, you know, people around her, including her dad and the, you know, the school psychologist or whatever. And so what ends up happening is they the kids find like a mysterious like pond, and in this pond things like come to life. And so her kind of like crazy violent sketches fall into the pond, and her drawings come to life as monsters, or a variety of different creatures, who then kind of like threaten, you know, everything else there. And yeah, I had kind of heard a little bit about this movie and kind of heard like some good buzz about it coming out of TIFF and stuff like that. And it is kind of like a really like interesting and creative movie. Like first and foremost, the idea for it is like super smart and unique. And then I think like the execution of it is like pretty impressive. Like this is a very modestly budgeted movie. Like it's got like according to Wikipedia, like a $3 million budget. And they really like make a lot work with this. And I think part of it is like the drawings are crude, and so like the CGI can be crude too, but it's still effective in like the creation and design of the characters that really do look like, you know, monsters coming to life that from a kid's drawing, and like they shoot like glitter and stuff and colorful, you know, stuff. And like there's just a lot done with a little throughout a lot of the movie, including like a fair amount of CGI that, you know, while looks like not like, it doesn't look like Avatar or anything like that, but it looks perfectly serviceable. I've seen far worse looking CGI in far more expensive movies.
100%.
And the story really is like, also again, like really creatively done in that it is an exploration of grief and sort of the way that the grief is manifesting for this little girl. And the way that like you know, all of the different emotions that she's like trying to capture, she's like processing through the art, and you know, being in pain or being angry and whatever is coming out in her drawings. And it talks a lot about the way that people process things, and you know, how processing things is healthy is like the, you know, one of the messages of the movie. So again, like it's got really smart execution of its themes. Like it's not talking down to its audience at all. And it's also not like sugarcoating to its audience either, which I really appreciate. You know, you talked a little bit about kid actors and weapons. I feel like this is an example again of like really good kid actors here, which is such a fine line because you can get really terrible child performances in a lot of these family movies. And I feel like the three main kids in this movie are all really good. Like there's a lot of like really funny and funny written jokes that like the kids deliver really well with like good comedic timing. I think the brother and sister relationship in the movie works really well here. And yeah, and then I think like the action parts of the movies are fine. I don't know that is like the thing about it that I like the most. In fact, I probably like was at my most disconnected with it when it kind of is in action mode. I think that like the character pieces are the things that are really the best part about it. And again, it's not just the kids, it's the adults too, who I think like Tony Hale is really great in this movie as the dad. Darcy Carden plays his sister, and their dynamic and relationship is really good. So all in all, I mean, I just thought it was a very impressively done family movie. I don't know that I don't think it's like incredible or anything, but I think it is like better than most of these types of movies. It could have gone a bunch of different ways, especially when dealing with a topic like grief, or you know, kind of like a fantastical sort of you know, plot or idea. And I think it just feels like really emotionally grounded for a lot of the time. And then I think it's just a really well-made movie, just in terms of like using its budget. It's edited really well. There's a lot of like visual cuts that land as jokes. And it just feels like there was a lot of care put into the movie. The one thing that is interesting, and you can probably speak on this a little bit more, but It is like a PG family movie, though I don't really know how suitable it is for kids.
It's funny because I definitely am going to talk about that.
Yeah, because and I'll let you speak to some of it, but like two main things. Like number one, the themes of the movie are super heavy, right? I mean, like it is like about grief. It is about the loss of a parent. Right. Everyone is like struggling with it. Everyone's in pain. You're seeing like an urn with ashes and stuff in it. Like it's like very like head on with its talking about grief. And then the scenes are like, so the thing that it reminded me the most of, like the closest analog is like Jurassic Park.
Okay.
Which is like, it's action, but it's like horror tinted action. And this thing almost feels like entry level horror at times.
I have my own. Do you want to know what I thought it was?
What?
I thought it was like almost like Children Army of Darkness.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah. I can see
that. So it's funny that you also have like sort of an analogy for it, because I was like, all of a sudden this is like a Children's Army of Darkness movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. And but it is sort of like, again, like starter horror where there's like jump scares and there's like moments
like purple blood that the demons are spewing and
like kids are getting attacked by things and like there's like musical cues that like shoot up and there's things that like pop out at you. Like it is intense. And so I'll let you kind of speak to how you feel about that piece of it. But I think that like that might be like the one disclaimer piece of all of this, which is like it is like a bit of an intense movie. But with all that being said, I'm not like that's not a criticism from me.
Yeah, exactly.
That is just like it's a feature, not a bug, right? I think it's because I think it does effectively work and it does like play into that like horror-ish adventure part that I think is again like speaks to the execution of it. So it's just all around the word I would think of is just it's really solid. So I'll go ahead and turn that to you.
So I agree. The first thing I wrote was that it was great visually. I was super impressed with the CGI. I couldn't believe that they were pulling off half the things that they were pulling off and making it look great, and not cheesy or just like where you would want to roll your eyes. It's like visually incredible. And then I wrote maybe a little too scary ? Because I think the disconnect is because the children are like elementary aged. And the content is more like tweens. Mm-hmm. So it's difficult because when you see kids who are like elementary aged kids, that's what the, children would want to watch. I feel like that, you would almost like be drawn to a movie with children who are your age. Mm-hmm. I think it would have worked more if maybe there was like tweens instead. Maybe, I mean, even just like middle school aged as opposed to like third and fourth graders.
Well, I will tell you really quickly is that I think the premise of the movie falls apart a little bit the older that you make them, because I think the idea is that the drawings have to be like kind of shitty, right?
And that's the problem. And I thought of that too, because then maybe, then I guess you have to make it more fantastical and less like violent-y, because I thought of that as well, where I'm like, yes. Yeah. So then maybe it leans heavier into the like Disney side, but that would actually, I think, take away from it. Mm-hmm. I think they could have just maybe toned down the gore and violence-y stuff just slightly, because I think that really is kind of a little bit of the charm, like I said, like a Children's Army of Darkness. But with children like that are that age, you can't, I wouldn't be able to show it to my kids at all. Like when you were like, oh, it's a kid's movie. And then I saw the trailer, I was like, nah, I don't think I'm going to be able to. Yeah. Like, I don't want to implant fears.
And again, it is a like PG movie, which is a little surprising.
I agree.
I think that like this, it feels more PG-13 when you watch it.
And I'm going to disagree on the children actors, and only because I will say that they were really carrying a lot of this movie. I don't think it was necessarily that they are not good actors. I think they just had a lot to do. They were literally like carrying the movie, acting against things that are imaginary.
Right.
So I did get some moments where I thought it was a little over the top. But again, it's not a criticism of the poor child actors who are literally having to do everything in this movie, and more, just, I guess, the nature of it being based on them and really relying on them really hard. And I will also say that Tony Hale is awesome. He's so great. But I cannot see him as a normal person, and that is my fault. It is not his fault. I just cannot take him seriously. All I picture is Buster or the Veep character. I literally am expecting him to just be like this bumbling, goofy guy. And when he's like a serious dad character, I'm like, oh, stop, Tony. Like, come on.
Yeah.
So that sort of was a little difficult. Again, he did amazing, but it's just, I'm just so used to seeing hours and hours of him being like this totally different person. So that was a little difficult. But I think all in all, it's not, I was surprised at how much I did like it. But it never really captured my like heart as these types of movies are supposed to sort of do. I never really felt like invested in the storyline with the mom or like the kids having to go over their grief. I don't know. It just never really kind of got me there. And, you know, I'm easy to get.
Yeah, I mean, I think
in
that
regard. So.
I think that where it really shines in its effectiveness is like one like takeaway of the movie, which is the premise or the idea that like they're worried about the one who's processing their emotions in a healthy way.
That's
true. And really what's going on is like the guys are like holding it in.
Right.
And I think that like realization, that conversation between Darcy Carden and Tony Hale, and then the conversation between Tony Hale and his son really kind of punctuate that
yeah.
point.
No, I agree. You're right.
Which again, like, that is so much more complex of an idea than you would expect from like a family movie about grief, which is the thing that I really appreciate about the way that it treats its sort of like topics and themes.
Yeah, but it doesn't get me in the heart as much as like a lot of other sort of movies that handle this type. I mean, and look at all the Pixar movies, you know?
Right, but then like Pixar for me like doesn't always feel like authentic and earned,
right, genuine,
and that's the difference here. Or it goes too far into metaphor or whatever it's trying to do. And this movie again is like pretty straightforward, like almost like hard on its sleeve kind of thing.
I can see that. And I also do agree with you that really the kind of action-y scenes is when it kind of lost me. It was like too Spy Kids-y.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it was like really kind of reminding me of that, and I didn't love that. I think we could have done with less of those sort of like fighting, you know, imaginary things scenes. But
yeah. All right. So then we'll go ahead and get into final thoughts. So yeah, for me, again, I just, you know, even maybe more than I liked the movie, I think I walked away being impressed by it. And I think those are like different things. And that's not to say that I didn't like it. I just feel like there's so much about the movie that is impressive. I think it's a really impressive family film with authentic emotion. I think it's inventive, it's funny, and I think it's just like expertly crafted by the filmmaker Seth Worley, and I'm very interested to see the continuation of the things that he does. And again, I just feel like the way that it handles its topics is really refreshing, and that I don't think that there's too much inauthenticity in it, and I like that it doesn't like talk down to the audience, I just feel like it sidesteps tropes. I mean, I think that like it just doesn't fall into what could have been a very formulaic movie. So I'm on the strength of its kind of like filmmaking and the like it's the things that I was impressed by. I'm giving it a solid B.
Yeah, I think I thought it was surprisingly realistic. I was really impressed with all of the visual elements that it was able to sort of pull off. I think it relied too heavily on the child actors, and even though they were really great, they just can't be, you know, they can't be the main thing that the movie relies on. So for me, it kind of, it just felt like, what's the word? Not janky, but sort of like not inferior either, but just a little like it lost something just because it was relying too hard on really young actors. But I feel like with all that said, it really is, I think, sort of like a interesting movie. It's something you don't see every day, like you were saying. It sort of like bypasses all the tropes. It definitely is really, it has a lot of heart. I guess I will say that. It has a lot of heart. Does that heart translate? Maybe. It's like almost there. So I'm giving it a B-.
Okay, great. So that's going to do it for the day. In the future weeks, we'll kind of see what we do. Kind of leaning on maybe not having a show next week, and then maybe coming back the week after, where there's movies like Eden, the new Ron Howard movie, and Relay are two of the opening
Ooh, I
movies.
didn't know Ron Howard did Eden.
Yes, yeah. And
That's
then
interesting.
it's actually interesting also because Relay is done by a director that I really like, named David Mackenzie, who did, he directed one of my favorite, actually my top movie the year that it came out, which was Hell or High Water.
Oh God, Hell or High Water was one of my favorite movies of that year too.
Yeah, and he directed, his movie before that was a movie that like nobody saw but was in like high in my top 10, called Starred Up.
Okay.
It's this prison, it's like a prison movie with Jack O'Connell and Ben Mendelsohn, and that movie's incredible, but like no one knows what the hell it is.
I gotta see that, because I remember when I watched Hell or High Water, I watched it with Gaetan, and we were both like, holy crap, like that was amazing.
Hell or High Water is a really, really good movie.
I mean, it is just so surprisingly good.
Yeah.
You're like, where did this movie come from?
Yeah, and so I'm excited about Relay, just because I think David Mackenzie's super talented.
Me too. Now
yeah.
I am excited as well. But also the Ron Howard one, it's like a story from My Favorite Murder that they've told.
Oh, okay.
Like My Favorite Murder, they talk about their favorite murder, and one of the hosts like told that whole story. It's really an insane. Do you know this story?
I don't.
It's true. It's insane. It's like literally these people who are living on a deserted island to get away from, the world, and then this like heiress joins them, and she's like carried around on donkeys, and she has like man servants, and it's like stranger than fiction. It's insane.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, it has a really good cast behind it.
I know. Your favorite
plays
the heiress. So
okay, yeah. I'm interested. So these are fitting the theme. Like, I believe both of these movies played or premiered at TIFF last year, in addition to Sketch, the movie we just talked about. So so we'll at least have those. And
wait, and who's in the Relay? Is it
it's Riz Ahmed.
I saw that.
Lily James.
Two really good movies to look forward to. I'm excited for both.
Yeah.
Oh, Lily James too. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
She was in the Queen biopic, right? No, never mind.
She was.
What am I thinking of?
She was in like Mamma Mia, the second one. And
she was
Baby Driver.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
anyway,
if you want to reach out to us, CineSnob on all social medias. Subscribe to our YouTube channel where you can watch the podcast. Follow me on Letterboxd, I guess. I haven't really been updating it. Thanks everyone for listening, and we'll see you at some point in the future.
Thank you for listening to this CineSnob podcast. To read reviews, interviews, and more, visit cinesnob.net. See you next week.